Good evening, everyone. Thanks for stopping back in at the Carnivore Collective Kitchen. Today, I want to do just a quick little video on some of what I feel are essential tools that I keep in my kitchen that I use on a regular basis. This is not going to be an all-inclusive list, but like I said, the ones that I use on a regular basis. So I'm going to start over here with just an old-fashioned kitchen scissors. It's great for breaking down chicken. You can cut fish, whatever. Even you can cut raw meat. You can cut cooked steaks. It's not just a poultry shears. This is a little cheaper one. You can get those heavy-duty metal ones, but I've had this one for a couple of years. No problems with it. Nice and sharp. I have my scoops. Now, this one here is a standard cookie scoop. I think it's like a tablespoon and a half. I use this for making smaller meatballs. I use this one for making larger meatballs. Back here, I have the old-fashioned knuckle buster grater. Absolutely love it. Of course, you can use it for potatoes if you eat those, but I use mine for cheese. And to me, it's invaluable. Easy to clean, just pop that baby in the dishwasher. The only caveat is make sure it's dry because they will rust if you're not careful. Up here, I have a bunch of these silicone lids. This is just a small sampling of what I have. I don't know if any of you have tried these. They are fantastic. Here I just have two sizes, but they really do grip on your dishes. So they have square ones. I don't have any square containers that I would need them for, but go ahead, give them a try. It's a whole lot better than trying to saran wrap bowls that don't have lids that come with them. So let's swing back down here. This, of course, everybody knows these. Your little old food tongs, your little pinchers for grabbing whatever. These spatulas here, or this is an offset spatula. Mostly people use them for frosting cakes or whatever. I don't make cakes with it, but I do use it for smoothing out my protein-sparing bread because it gives me that nice little angle, and I can work that batter nice. I use this one as well for the same reason. The only time I use this for that protein sparing is if I am making an extra large loaf and I just want to smooth it out a little faster. Next to the right, we have a couple of whisks, and you'll see I have some different kinds up here. First, we'll do these, just your average balloon whisk. I use this one quite a bit if I'm just wanting to whip up a couple of scrambled eggs or whatever, or even hand whipping cream. We don't always need a blender, You can whip up stiff, heavy whipping cream with this in just a couple of minutes. This one here I use in my pans for making gravy because it's flat. You can get down and around the edges of your pan, whereas this one, that's not going to happen. So this is a good investment if you like making a pan gravy. Now, these whisks here are plunger whisks, and I don't use them as much as I used to, but they work best if you put them in like a mason jar, because they get kind of like a vortex going. Easy to use, I can't complain. I used to use them quite a bit, but they kind of sit more. I got to find another purpose for them because these two here are my favorite. Of course, when I really want to blend something quickly, we go for the immersion blender. I do have the whisk attachment for this, but I don't use that as often because I don't need it on there. With my immersion blender, that one did also come with the little 3-cup chopper, 4-cup chopper, whatever that is. That works great for making the carnivore pancake batter, like the cream cheese and eggs, things like that. The Magic Bullet I use for the same purpose. This is the one I do use most of the time for making my cream cream cheese and egg pancakes or crepes, whatever, form you're making. This one I use if I need some pork rind crumbs because it gives me a little bit more volume. So we'll get back down here. You've seen me use this. This is actually my favorite little spatula. I got these items right here from the Dollar Tree when the Dollar Tree was still $1. Now it's like the dollar quarter and more store, right? Inflation, you gotta love it. But, even for $1.25 for these, I love them. They're wonderful to have when you're using smaller pans. This as well, I use this quite a bit in my air fryer because I don't want to be scratching up the Teflon or whatever that material is. The next thing we'll move on to are a few knives. So these here are, of course, are your chef's knives, your 8-inch chef knife. I don't use them as often because I don't do a lot of veggie chopping, but I do use onions and garlic. Yes, I know it's not carnivore, but this girl likes a little flavor, and I like my onions and my garlic. So I use these for chopping those or dicing. This one is actually my favorite. I use it for everything. You just always get your favorite knife. So I have a slicer or boning knife, depending on how you want to classify it. This works great if I want to break down a chuck roast or something like that into smaller pieces. I'll also use this size if I want to break down a chicken carcass or a turkey carcass and the bird itself is too big to use the scissors. So this one works great. This knife here, my favorite use of this knife is, and you wouldn't think it because it is a smooth edge blade, but I use it for bread. This sucker is so sharp. I swear it would hurt your feelings if you looked at it wrong because it is that sharp. I've had it for a number of years. I've never sharpened it. There's something magical with this particular knife. I wish I had another. But I also, besides using it for bread, and I mean protein sparing bread, thank you, I like to use it for cutting meat. If I make a top round roast and I'll make it medium rare, you can cut this the meat so thin with this because it is nice and sharp. You should always keep a steel, and it's a good idea, a good practice, in my opinion. If you take your knife, now I don't do it with this one, but these, every time I use them, take a couple passes with the steel. The steel is not meant to sharpen your knives, but it is to help keep the edge straight. Because as we chop and you're putting force down and you're getting into that cutting board, you roll the edge, okay? And you're not going to necessarily see that with the naked eye. The steel hones it and it brings that edge flat again. If you need true sharpening, that is when you go over and you do the stones. I prefer the stones. You start with the low grit, the coarse grit, and go as high as you need to go. The coarser grit is if you really need to take off a lot of material because you've got nicks or chips or something like that. But try not to be that mean to your knives. Keep them in better shape and you'll get just years and years of use. If you've ever seen the old westerns when they show the cowboys sharpening their knives, on that leather strap, well, I'm telling you, it works. It's very similar, if not identical, to what you would get with this. I think this might be a little more user-friendly for some. And yeah, it works. It really works. So, keep this in mind. I know I do have the little cheater sharpeners because I use those as well. No shame in that. But when I really, really need to start over and put a fresh edge on my knives, I go for the stones. One thing to keep your knives sharper longer, please, please do not put them in the dishwasher. The dishwasher just beats the hell out of the edge, and it will dull your knives faster, and nobody needs a dull knife. Now this knife here, I've had this knife for probably 30 years, if not longer. And you can see all them scratches, those little nicks are from all the years of doing it on the stone and the steel. This baby is sharp. I wish I would have remembered to bring out 2 other smaller knives. Let me grab those, and I'm going to tell you a little story. Hold on a second. All right, thanks for waiting, and I am back with these 2 little bad boys. Now, I have had these knives for probably 30 years. I bought them a long time ago at an Amish grocery that I went to that was in my neighborhood. And I have some scary but true stories with these knives. And this is a reminder to please, please be careful when you're in the kitchen. So we'll start with this one. I had a very tiny kitchen, poorly shaped, even though the room was 24 by 24, not a lot of workable space. Old farmhouse. I used to put a small cutting board over my silverware drawer so I had counter space. And I was using this knife, and I was chopping up vegetables. And this was long before I really knew which knife to use for what. Well, I was barefoot in my house like I am almost every day, and I'm cleaning up off that cutting board. All of a sudden this knife falls on the floor, and it hit my foot. And I stood there, I didn't move. Well, wouldn't you know it, this knife went all the way through my foot and into the floor and then fell out. And I don't know if you can see it, that little bitty bend. That is from it going through my foot and sticking into the floor. So it was a very unpleasant afternoon. I had a sore foot for quite a while. But because the knife was so sharp, it went in and out. And the actual cut, I didn't feel. This knife, the sister knife, this was just 2 years ago. If that, might have been last year. Anyway, I was taking dishes out of the dishwasher. I had a whole handful of silverware in this hand. I had wired earbuds on this very phone, and I had my phone tucked into my waistband. My phone started popping out. I went to grab the phone, and I had silverware in both hands, and I brought my hands together, and I ran this knife right through my ring finger. Now, you might be able to see that tiny little white line. That is part of the scar that is left over. Again, that kind of smarted. But because I keep my knives really sharp, even though it was a serious injury, the finger was a serious injury, I actually did less damage because they were sharp. The cut was clean. Now this, again, it went all the way through my finger. So please, please practice kitchen safety. If you're going to be a risk taker like me and be chopping food with no shoes, please make sure your knives stay on your counter or table or cutting board. And please be careful. It's not worth it, but keep them babies sharp. All right, so we'll stop on the end of that horror story there. It's probably a little more than you expected, but the kitchen can be a dangerous place. And especially for us carnivores, we are slicing and dicing meat all the time. So sometimes we need that reminder. All right, so I appreciate you guys stopping in and spending some time with me in the Carnivore Collective Kitchen. This is going to be part one of a little mini series. Right now, I am thinking we'll have 3 parts. Next time, I want to go through the small appliances that I like to keep in my kitchen, the little magic bullet and the immersion blender aside. We're talking literally small appliances. And then we'll get into some what I like to keep for my basic cookware and my basic bakeware. So until then, thank you once again. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you have any suggestions, comments, ideas, let me know. Drop a comment in the video, and let's talk. Thanks for stopping. Talk to you later.